Hello everyone, welcome to Josel Apparel. We have another interesting tutorial in today's video. We'll be making this pretty dress for a 9 to 10-year-old child. It's very simple and very easy to follow through. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share this video if you found it helpful. So grab your pen and your paper and let's get started. So these are the fabrics I'll be using to make this beautiful dress. I'm going to be combining this plain cotton pink fabric and this pattern fabric together. So I have about 2 yards of the pattern fabric and a yard of the plain fabric, but I'll be using less than 2 yards to make this dress. So let's go ahead and then start with the cutting of the fabric and we'll stitch the pieces together. So I have here 2 pieces of fabric. I'll be using one for the front and one for the back of this dress. So I'm going to fold this fabric into 2. So after folding, I'll be having 4 pieces here. So let's go ahead and then measure this fabric. So the width of this fabric is 8.5 inches and then the length is 9 inches. So the folded side of the fabric is here this way. The next I'm going to do is on the sides of this fabric, I'm going to measure 2 inches from the top and then mark, and also measure 2 inches down this way and then mark as well. Then I will connect this point with a straight line to form a square. So I'm going to go ahead and then curve out my armhole. Then I'll go ahead and then cut out the armhole area. So after cutting it out, this is what we have. I'll be using one for the front and then one for the back. And I also went ahead to cut out my lining pieces. So I have 2 pieces, one for the front and one for the back. So I'm going to set this aside and then we will go ahead and then work on the straps for this dress. So for the straps, I have 2 long pieces of fabric here. This fabric is 3.5 inches in length and then the width of this fabric is 26 inches. So this is the width. So I'm going to go ahead and then fold each of these straps into 2 this way. Then I'll head to my sewing machine and then stitch them together on 1/4 inch. So I'll fold the second strap, head to my sewing machine and then stitch it down on 1/4 inch as well. So after stitching the strap down, this is what I have. I actually went ahead to trim off the excess fabric after stitching them together. So I have 2, one for each strap. So I'm going to come in with my loop turner and then turn this strap inside out. So after turning the straps inside out, I'll head to my ironing table and then give the straps a good press. So this is what the straps look like after giving them a good press on the ironing table. You can see the midsection where I stitched, I pressed it down for both straps. So the next I'm going to do is I'm going to be heading back to my sewing machine and then stitching 1/4 inch away from the midsection of these straps. So I'm going to stitch 1/4 away from the midsection on both the left side this way from the top to the bottom, and I'll repeat the same process for the other side of the strap as well. So from the top here through to the bottom for both straps to create the channel in which I'll be passing my elastic through. So I'll repeat the same process for the other strap. So this is what the channel looks like after stitching them down on the sewing machine. I have here my elastic band. This is about 1/4 of an inch in width, and then it is 8 inches in length. So I'm going to be passing this through the channels I created on the strap. So I'll use my pin to just help me in passing the elastic through the channels that I created. So as I'm passing it through, I'll be evening out the gathers that forms on this strap. So please, if you are enjoying this tutorial, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us. We have a lot of sewing tutorials coming up, and we do not want you to miss any of those videos. So thank you so much for showing us love throughout all this period. We appreciate you. So I'm passing it through. Gently do this, don't rush the process, and while you are passing it through, remember to be evening out the gathers. So when I get to the end, I'm going to hold the elastic down with pins at both ends. Then I'll head to my sewing machine and then stitch them down slightly at the tip so that I do not miss this elastic. So I'll repeat the same process on the other strap as well. So these are my straps. They are elasticated beautifully, and this is what they look like. I'm evening out the gathers so that it looks so beautiful. I like how it's looking already. So I'm going to set this aside, and then we'll concentrate on the top part of this dress. So remember, I've cut out my lining piece as well. So I'm going to bring in my main fabric. These are the main fabrics, one for the front and one for the back. Then I will place the lining on top of this main fabric. So I'm placing the lining on the right side of the main fabric for both the front and then the back. So after placing it down, I would come in with my straps and then place the one of the straps in between the main fabric and then the lining. So as I place it down, I would then use the lining fabric to cover the straps this way. Then I will hold them down with pins. So I'll place the other strap down as well and then pin it onto the fabric as well. Remember, the strap is in between the main fabric and then the lining, and leave about 1/2 inch away from the armhole curve when you are placing your strap. So when I'm done pinning the strap on the main fabric, I'll head to my sewing machine and then stitch this down first, and I will later come back and then stitch the other straps on the other fabric. So I'll head to my sewing machine and then stitch the armhole area down through to the neck region, back to the armhole, all on 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So this is what it looks like after stitching. I turned it inside out. It's looking so beautiful already. So I'm going to bring in the other fabric piece, repeat the same thing we did for the other one on this one as well. So I'll place the straps onto the main fabric. Remember to leave 1/2 inch away from the armhole while you are placing the strap, and also even out your gathers beautifully. So I'll place my lining fabric to cover the straps this way. Then I will pin them down to hold them in position. Head back to my sewing machine and then stitch the armhole area and then the neck region down on 1/2 inch, basically repeating the same thing we did for the other pattern. So this is what the bodice looks like after stitching the straps down. Take a look at it. It's looking so beautiful, looking so neat and then beautiful. So yes, we are almost done with the top part. We'll set this aside so we can work on the bottom part of this dress. So I have two pieces of fabric here which I'll be using for the skirt. The fabric is actually folded into two and the fold line is towards me here. So it's folded into 4 pieces. I'll be using one of this fabric for the front and the other for the back. The length of this fabric is 22.5 inches and then the width of this fabric is 21 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and then open this fabric up. So once I've opened it up, I'll be having 2 pieces. Remember, I folded it. So I'm going to head to my sewing machine and then gather the top of this fabric from one end to the other and then repeat the same process for the other piece of fabric. So after drawing my gathers on the skirt pattern, this is what I have here. It's looking so pretty already. The next step is to attach it to the top part of this dress. So I'm going to pin the skirt onto the bodice from one end to the other. And when I'm done pinning, I'll head to my sewing machine and then stitch this down on 1/2 inch. So I'll bring in the other skirt piece and then pin it down to the other bodice this way, and then after pinning I'll also stitch it down on 1/2 inch, just like we are going to do for the other piece. So I'm done stitching the skirt to the top part of this dress. Take a look at it. This is what it looks like. I've stitched both the front and then the back together. So the next step is to attach our elastic to the waist of this dress. So I have here 2 elastic for both the front and then the back. This elastic is 8 inches in length. So I'm going to take each of them and then I will head to my sewing machine, stitch from one end of the waist through to the other end, and while I'm stitching I'll be stretching the elastic so that I can get to the other end of this dress and then it will gather nicely at the waist region. I'll be repeating the same process for the other side of the dress. So I'm done stitching the elastic on both sides of this dress. Look at how it's looking so beautiful. So I'll just pin the sides down together as well. Then I will head to my sewing machine and then stitch the sides down on 1/2 inch. So I'll stitch from the top, from the armhole area through to the hem of this dress. When I'm done with one side, I will stitch the other side down as well. Remember, we are stitching on 1/2 inch. So when I'm done stitching the sides, I'll also hem the bottom of this dress as well, and we are done. It's that simple. So this is what our dress looks like, so gorgeous. Look at the strap, it's stretchy, the waist is also stretchy. Very simple and easy project. I hope you will give it a try. Please, we want to hear from you in the comment section, so please don't forget to comment, like, and then share our video. Thank you so much for making time to watch this video. We'll see you in our next video.